Thanks for taking the time to learn more about how EPUBs, ebooks, and a more robust workflow can catapult you into new media. It's my pleasure to introduce Aspen Kuhlman, the co-developer of our process.
Hello.
As publishers, our only goal is to forge a lasting bond between our readers, authors, and supporters. All I ask in return is that we engage them in the media that they prefer. Today we're introducing a powerful toolset plus an intuitive recipe that we call Your Publishing Paradigm. Our dual objective is first to bring your productivity in line with marketplace demands, then we'll show you how to quickly increase your electronic market exposure.
These days there are numerous avenues for content. We've always had the print option, then internet came along, and now EPUB with the emergence of Apple's iPad, Barnes & Noble's Nook, and Amazon's Kindle, to name a few. As we've seen just in the last year, these devices are in high demand and subscribers are clamoring for more content via EPUB.
Thanks to the unlimited potential of EPUB, someone in your industry will be introducing both seasoned and emerging authors to the marketplace. Their readership will have expanded showcase of content. Their advertisers will have an on-ramp to those interactive avenues that Aspen mentioned. Your paradigm will recognize that you are no longer subject to the constraints of print, but instead use all avenues to reinforce your message.
We're suggesting that the optimal resource balance for satisfying all publication requirements is achieved by using something we like to call 50-30-20. 50% of the process is editorial, managing the contributors, editing, and being able to give direction to both sides of the fence throughout the entire process. 30% is content architecture, a new term but powerful. This encompasses equal access from the editorial and design side. We will show you how, as an editor, you will be able to take a more active role in the entire process of your publication. 20% is designated to the InDesign application itself. With the introduction of 50-30-20, you'll be able to determine in which phases you need InDesign, regardless of the product you are producing. This will also give you a chance to evaluate your workflow, as well as rethink who needs what software based on their availability rather than their ability.
Today we're going to introduce our clearinghouse production model. The efficiency and resource balance that we experienced is the basis for our 50-30-20 findings. In our authoring phase, we enable our editors to take fingertip control of the entire process. During the staging phase, we introduce our 30-second rule. Simply stated, we're going from article submission to publication ready in 30 seconds. An article or a chapter is transformed into a content stream where we incorporate the required graphics from our media catalog. In the destination phase, we point the content stream toward receptive targets like EPUB, HTML, and print. After a couple of spirals through our clearinghouse model, you can align your resources with your paradigm. As we start with the authoring phase, Aspen has volunteered for the InDesign user role.
Here inside InDesign, you're looking at the style gallery profile developed for EPUB that I created based on my editor's specifications. The first and most important part I want to point out are the paragraph styles. You won't be able to pull off the 30-second rule without these paragraph styles. They are necessary for quick styling, but vital for navigation in electronic publications. With that said, you can see how important it is to sit down and work on these styles. You'll notice we omitted spaces in our naming conventions, and this is based on the ease of manipulation for our electronic publications. Plus, no matter what section I'm working on, my styles are aligned across the board. They may look different, which means they have different definitions, but they have the same naming conventions that my editor and I co-developed. This makes last-minute changes effortless and no longer halts our production. The first step in the 50-30-20 process is mapping out your publication styles and making sure everyone, including the authors, knows the relationships between those styles. So with this cheat sheet, both sides can easily visualize the relationships established when styling articles. To ensure that we are getting the most out of our styles, I'm continually engineering them to do more once that article is placed. Jim, as the editor, gives me direction by letting me know what he wants, whether it's having our publication name stand out or having a website style on its own. So here, if I zoom in, you can see the publication name here is in bold and it stands out a little bit. So if I go over and start typing it in, you can see that it automatically styles on its own and it becomes bold and it stands out. Also, if I type in or bring in any website, the style is engineered to have it stand out, so the design side knows it has further action to be taken. So if I just type in a website here, let's do website edu, you can see it automatically styles on its own and changes that color blue, which is very nice. So now that we've built this approved EPUB style gallery, this can be deployed in Word, and I can do that by saving it as an RTF. My editor now has a submission template for contributing authors to submit their work to our publication. Since our contributors write in Word, we want to give them a familiar stage to present their articles on, but with some enhancements designed specifically for our publication. And with this, we're one step closer to streamlining our process.
We've translated our style gallery into this Microsoft Word submission template that we distribute to all of our contributors. Because we're expecting them to follow all submission guidelines, including formatting, we've added these user-friendly features. First, we're using only Times New Roman and Arial to accommodate our font-impaired authors. We preserved the style sheet names, but we adjusted the font and spacing to our editorial specs for viewing and printing. Note that the character styles are tinted in red to provide a quick visual check that we're using our character style sheets. Regardless of the Microsoft Word version that we're using, authors can display the Styles panel using only the style sheets that are compatible with our style gallery. If they use the Quick Apply panel, they'll see that it mirrors the Styles panel. If you count the traditional format painter, contributors have 3 ways to apply paragraph and character styles. Here's a document submitted by one of our promising authors. To confirm that the author used the correct style, I always display the Microsoft Word style pane in either outline or draft view. In this document, I see only one thing that I need to adjust based on my cheat sheet. We include sample text and contributor instructions as part of the MS Word template itself, including steps for displaying the style pane. Once I save this version, our authoring phase is complete. Now, Aspen is going to introduce you to our staging doc and illustrate our 30-second rule using that promising author Word document that I just completed.
Back on the InDesign side, on the left you'll notice we have the style gallery for EPUB. And on the right hand side we have our staging doc. The staging doc on the right hand side is just a blank document used to cleanse the content we bring in from Word by cleaning up those remnants of code that may have made its way into InDesign. Because we want our layouts to remain pristine, the staging doc does just that by putting up a firewall on contamination. And I'm guaranteeing my code will work properly on that EPUB side. So before I place that promising author submission from Jim, I'm going to need to load the approved style gallery for EPUB. Because this is going to be EPUB, I will load the style gallery EPUB, which is inside that style gallery folder. I'm going to hit open and then OK to accept the styles. You can see now that it's populated. Next, I'm going to place that Word submission from the promising author. There's a submission from the promising author. I'm going to hit open. You can see it's loaded up and I'm going to place it inside the staging dock. Now I'm just going to grab all the text here with a simple Command or Control A. Then I can perform an override of all the styles to cleanse it of the document of any contamination that would have come in with the Word document. So now this article is publication ready in 30 seconds and prepped for EPUB, or it can be placed into one of my pristine layouts. But before we incorporate this article into an EPUB framework, let's see how the staging dock phase can also be done with InCopy by way of Jim, the editor.
The first advantage of incorporating Adobe InCopy into our clearinghouse model is its ability to open any InDesign file. The InCopy interface is remarkably similar and equally powerful, minus only the layout tools. On the left-hand side, I'm using the same InDesign style gallery that Aspen used earlier. Notice the INDD extension. The staging dock with the ICML extension on the right is a functional mirror of the image of its InDesign counterparts. The next remarkable InCopy tool is Mini Bridge Panel. By browsing within a folder, I can determine the contents of an InDesign file without opening it. I found this vintage print article that I'm going to use to give my established author electronic market exposure. I could double click on it to open it and copy and paste the text, but because I had to trim so much content from this submitted article, I asked an intern to enhance my uncut Word version of this article with the proper style sheets. Now I'm merely following Aspen's procedure. I'm going to load the style gallery styles from the left into my staging dock on the right. I'm going to place my vintage Word submission document into the InCopy staging dock. I'm going to select everything and remove the overrides by the button on the bottom. Using InCopy, I'm going to transform this staging dock into a content stream by placing my EPUB image. I'm going to return to the Mini Bridge panel. We've specified that our media library should contain a CMYK main photo for print, an RGB for web, and an RGB with photographer credit for EPUB. Once I drag the correct graphic from Mini Bridge, I can save my content stream for use in our EPUB. InCopy lets me manage the entire content architecture, including style galleries, content streams, and graphics. Next, we're going to shoot back over to InDesign to examine the framework for building, exporting, and evaluating EPUBs.
Using InDesign, let's see how we incorporate and evaluate those two-stage articles into an EPUB. I put the articles for the EPUB into a book named EPUB Structure, and I've added those two articles that Jim and I just staged up. By using a book, I'm using InDesign best practices, and if there are any last-minute changes to the order of the articles, it's very easy to move them around within the book. Next, I'll go to the flyout menu and we'll export this book to EPUB. And I'll just save it as is. I'm not going to change anything in the dialog box at this time. I'm just going to hit OK. Inside Adobe's Digital Editions, we're going to take a look at this EPUB so far. With a quick once-over, we can see that both my articles are here, but the navigation is all wrong. By displaying the document names, we really aren't getting the most out of our navigation. We will be able to remedy that in the next step by using a table of contents. You'll also notice that the photo really isn't the right size or in the ideal spot, and a better look should be adopted for our publication. Next, we're going to demonstrate how you can enhance any EPUB with a unique CSS profile to create a consistent look for our EPUB without having to do anything more inside InDesign. So now let's take a look at the EPUB when it's completely put together. This enhanced EPUB book is our finished EPUB. First, the top document inside our publication houses the cover and the table of contents associated with this publication. The TOC has been very convenient for print, but it's essential for navigation in EPUB. The TOC is based solely on those paragraph styles, so again, another reason to get them in order. Also, the TOC has been available inside InDesign since the first version, and if you haven't taken advantage of its power, now's the time to utilize what it can do for your publication. So now the EPUB has 3 separate facets. I have a seasoned author, a new author, and a featured author. The seasoned author is represented by the vintage article. By incorporating vintage content into the EPUB, we are creating new exposure for those established authors, as well as creating support for the promising author. New authors, such as our promising author article, who never would have had a place in our print publication, now can be presented in EPUB. We offer them exposure to one marketplace where they can be tested and possibly gain readership. By allowing the marketplace to evaluate them, this may earn them a spot in a future print edition. By putting the featured authors who are identified for our print publication inside our latest EPUB without truncating them for print, this publication guarantees them double exposure to the marketplace. Lastly, we have also added some ads and placed them in between the articles. Again, we're talking about creating alternative avenues for advertisers, plus an avenue for those advertisers who found it too costly to make it into print. So now I'm ready to export this completed EPUB. So I'm going to go back out to the flyout menu. I'm going to hit Export Book to EPUB. Inside the dialog box now, I'm going to pick a higher resolution cover image. The rasterized image really isn't always the best choice. Now underneath the Contents tab, we have the TOC created based on our paragraph styles, and we also have a unique CSS. That's going to give a uniform look between our articles. So now I'm just going to hit OK so we can view this EPUB now. We are now going to view the EPUB in Firefox's EPUB Reader. They have a fantastic free plugin for viewing EPUBs. Firefox also gives a better representation of the EPUB because it renders more like it would on an iPad. For advertisers without mobile devices, Firefox is also an option for them to view their ads. Plus, Firefox opens up an avenue to your subscribers who don't have or don't want to view EPUBs on a mobile device. Now they can view this directly on the web. This reaches an even wider audience than mobile alone, and it's not web to content, so it can be paid for content, which is another revenue stream for your publication. So let's take a look at this final EPUB inside Firefox. First, you can see that my navigation has been created based on my table of contents. Also, notice the uniformity. There is some nice shading behind the headings, and line spacing has been added throughout the publication for ease of reading on those mobile devices. We've also added a running head to the beginning of each article to designate which publication you're viewing. In the vintage article, there was a pull quote designation, and if we scroll down here, that comes out nicely inside the orange backs here on the right hand side. In the promising article, the website shown has a look that stands out, and if we click on it, it's been activated. And it goes to our desired destination. Now back inside the EPUB, in the feature article, I was able to represent a sidebar. So if I scroll down again, you can see the sidebar here in gray on the right hand side, and I was able to do that with very little manipulation on the CSS side. Lastly, my ad space is represented between the articles, creating that extra avenue for advertisers. We mentioned pricing expectations because to get this look you may need an outside perspective. But again, it's easily done because of the style consistency. If you take a look at the iPad screenshots, you can see those articles side by side and the uniformity the CSS creates. You'll also be able to see how nice the sidebar and pull quotes render, as well as the ad space.
Without disturbing the print sphere, let's review what the clearinghouse model has done for us. The lead editor now has fingertip control over all production components. Every participant has an unobstructed view of the entire process. We have a more intuitive and flexible component at each production stage. In the authoring phase, our editors are now in tune with the style gallery required for consistent output. Plus, we built the friendliest authoring template you'll ever find. In the staging phase, we introduced the staging doc to eliminate costly styling conflicts and code cleanup. Editors use InCopy to apply our 30-second rule and transform Word submissions into publication-ready content. We use Adobe Bridge to create content streams from that staging doc with the media catalog. In the destination phase, we built a 3-tiered EPUB platform. We used our vintage article to give our existing body of work electronic market exposure. Our promising author article gives our EPUB additional depth and perspective. Finally, we included the unabridged version of the feature article that we've earmarked for print. My EPUB file will satisfy both mobile device and browser-based subscribers. Now we'll show how the print sphere, or Hogwarts as we call it, will capitalize on our clearinghouse model. In our example, we're demonstrating an InCopy and InDesign relationship with a print document. Once again, the success of our workflow depends on the engineering of Aspen's target InDesign document. Thanks to that liquid layout engineering, we'll also solve an age-old editing problem.
The liquid layout concept is extremely important, and it's been demonstrated for a decade now. If you're not familiar with the term liquid layout, it's the ability to have content flow in and out easily. And of course, that's our definition. By linking up my text boxes, I create the ability to grab an entire story all at once in print layouts, and in my EPUB staging docs, I engineer them so I can grab everything, including text, images, and sidebars all at once. Because I engineer my print layouts to be liquid, I have the ability to grant Jim, the editor, access to them from the beginning. I can continue to lay it out, but he can get started placing and editing text for fit right away. Here you can see I've created an assignment for Jim to interact with the layout on the InCopy side. Also, we've discussed our naming conventions for the InCopy access. Jim has told me he'd like to have it called Feature Editor Jim on his end, and I've named it that here and saved it to our assignments folder on the server. That way, once it's created, he will know he can get started with the next step. Again, this is all part of an effort to streamline our process. We continually refer to InCopy as the content engine, and that's how we use it. Next, Jim will be interacting inside the print sphere with InCopy.
On the right-hand side of my InCopy workspace, I've opened the assignment that Aspen had created. Remember, in our actual production system, she granted me access to this layout days ago. If we open the InCopy assignment panel, you'll see my assignment name and the InCopy print feature file. Now I'm going to check out the InCopy file to guarantee that I have exclusive control of this text portion of the layout. Notice the icon will change from a blue editor to a yellow pencil. Now, look on the left-hand side. This is the uncut version of the feature article that Aspen is using in her EPUB. To create two separate versions of that feature content, uncut for EPUB, edited for print, I'm going to place the staging doc feature on the left into the print feature on the right. I'm going to File, Place. I'm going to locate that InCopy document for staging doc. Click Open, and note that the content from the left is assuming the style definitions of the target document on the right. I now have two divorced and differently named versions of the feature story at my disposal. But as we see here, I have fingertip access to both of them. Not having fingertip access to the content has been an age-old problem that I've always faced as an editor, and now we're showing the easy clearinghouse solution. I'm going to close that staged content and show you how to reserve content on the print side rather than delete it. Even if you haven't invested in InCopy or our Paradigm workshops, there's still a way to copy fit without deleting the text. Since version CS4 in InDesign and in InCopy, we've had a conditional text panel. You can see that we've created a suppress for print condition in that panel. If I select that last bullet, I can assign it to that suppress for print condition. The highlight shows that I can toggle that visibility eye until I get the results that I need. If the layout changes and we have now more room, we can reverse the process and recommit the text. Because this always works in a demo, we only need to remove one bullet. Because I'm using InCopy here, you'll see that I have Copy Fit display at the bottom of the application. Now our print sphere capitalizes on all of our workflow improvements. We've shown how the clearinghouse model reinforces our 50-30-20 findings. And here's what we've been able to document in our paradigm. 50% of the process is editorial. New submissions and vintage content can be brought up to Word template specifications by an intern or admin workforce based on the cheat sheet. They can use the 30-second rule to create staging docs for placement into a liquid layout or electronic destinations. The 30% is content architecture that was accessible from both the editorial and the design side. In the center portion of the functionality overlap, we've also demonstrated that the creation and maintaining of style galleries and staging docs can be done using InDesign or InCopy. InCopy users can view and liberate content, both text and graphics, from any InDesign document.
Because style galleries, staging docs, and the media catalog are no longer housed or created exclusively on the design side, this gives both sides equal opportunity to take part in producing an improved workflow. 20% of the process is designated to InDesign. Since all you need InDesign for are the layouts, creation of the book, and for its export options, this gives you an opportunity to evaluate your publication workflow. Furthermore, it gives you a chance to rethink your stance on software. To be on the latest version of InDesign can be as low as $50 a month, and InCopy is a one-time investment of,
let's say, $250.
So software doesn't need to become a huge budgeting factor when you're ready for the next stage, especially if you're an educational institution. On the other hand, as we've shown you today, that regardless of what version of InDesign you're currently using, you can be EPUB ready by using liquid layouts, staging docs, and a well-defined style gallery. Because we've isolated what needs to be done in this application, more time can be spent on creating liquid layouts that are ready for an editor to start populating with content. The editor should no longer be waiting to gain access to design layouts. Again, EPUB no longer needs to be something that is done after the print process or with that truncated print content.
Your publishing paradigm needs to engage readers, advertisers, and contributors in the media that they prefer. Let us know how we can help you develop the synergy between your 50-30-20 components. Most importantly, we showed you why InCopy is far more than an editing tool. It's a journalist's dream. We're anxious to see what you'll do with fingertip control of your entire media and content archives. We've shown you how you can meet the 30-second requirement by using consistent styles and staging docs.
We can guide you through the process for creating a content map and strategy for maintaining relationships between your content and media files. Also, by constructing a consistent and hard-working style gallery, you have a solid base for any type of publication. With extensive knowledge of this, we can help you produce more often into several different types of media. We also have a JavaScript that your InDesign user can run that can help assist you on where you are right now style-wise. And remember, by developing a staging doc strategy, you not only will create a better electronic presence for your publication, but you can streamline your process.
Because we take the EPUB creation out of the print sphere, you can revitalize your entire body of work with a new array of appealing products. Lastly, with our guidance, you'll be able to engineer liquid layouts that seamlessly import and export text and media.
So thanks for spending some time with us today and listening to us. We hope the information we provided you gives you a starting point. If you need a jump start on how to proceed, please feel free to contact us. We also offer breakout workshops for a more hands-on approach with ways to take back your publication using InCopy for editors, along with how to achieve those liquid layouts for the design side. So please, at any time, go to our website, www.soandsoco.com, and you can hit the blog tab, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have from watching our video. And have a great day. Thanks.